kitty cats. Welcome back to another episode of Tails and Tassels, the show where you learn about the lives of burlesque and nightlife performers, their craft, and their cats. I'm your host, Gemma Smith, also known as Gemma Stone when performing burlesque. By day, I work in animal welfare in New York City, and by night, I host the Catbaret, a cat-themed variety show. And today I'm chatting with the meowsing Amber Lyoness. She's a dancer, choreographer, and burlesque performer here in New York City. Today, we're diving into her journey from studying dance and fashion to creating her own cabaret dance troupe, Lyoness, and their brand new show, Purr, a celebration of that bold black cat energy right here in New York City. Also, we'll talk about her journey as a burlesque performer. Plus, this conversation reignited my own motivation to seek inspiration in my daily life, something I think many of you will connect with. And of course, bonus points, you'll get to meet and learn all about her cuddly cat, Beyonce. And you can see Amber perform live at the Galentine's Day Catbaret show in just 1 week on February 13th. Here in person in New York City, or join the live stream for only $10. She's bringing her magic to the stage for a special night of burlesque, comedy, and music. Come celebrate with us and grab your tickets now. Links in the show notes. All right, let's get into the episode. Okay, kitty cats. Amber is a New York City-based professional dancer who specializes in jazz, heels, Latin, ballet, contemporary tap, and musical theater. She began her dance training at 5 years old at North Alabama Dance Center, and just 3 days after earning her degree in fashion at the University of North Alabama, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in dance and fashion. While Amber has danced her whole life, she made her burlesque debut at Madam X in 2019. She continues her dance training in New York City and performs with dance and production companies such as Honey Burlesque, Siren Pack, 26 Stars, Skin Dance Company, and more. Amber Lyoness started the dance company Lyoness NYC in 2020 to showcase diverse dancers and burlesque performers in a compelling, feminine cabaret show. She loves how dance, burlesque, costumes, and other art forms express her sparkle and joy, and she's so honored to be able to do that with such a powerful group of dancers, artists, and creators. And what's even better than all of that? Well, she's a cat mom, and she has a burlesque show called Purr. Welcome to the podcast, Amber. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be a part of this. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Well, it's been wonderful working with you in realities, and you're going to be in the Galentine's Day Catbaret. So I would love for our listeners to know, can you share your background and journey in dance and burlesque a little bit more?
Yes, absolutely. So I started with dance when I was 5 years old. My mom put me in my first dance class, just something extra to do and, to get some fun and exercise and just have an extracurricular. I absolutely fell in love with it. My mom, when I was 10, was like, do you want to, do competitions? And I'm like, yeah. So I started doing competitions through middle school, high school. Went to the University of North Alabama where I studied fashion, but I was also part of the dance program there. So it's just always been in my life. I've always loved music. I've always loved dance. But, growing up, I've always dreamed of moving to New York, doing whatever. Like, I just knew I want to move to New York. So, 3 days after graduating, I went to New York, worked a little bit more in the fashion industry, but then still like really fell in love with the art scene just in general, performing art scene. And so, I started dancing. I started auditioning and just doing the things, training regularly at dance studios like BDC and Steps, and just really like honing my craft as a dancer. And then I saw my burlesque show, my first burlesque show, my first NYC burlesque show, I want to say in 2019. And then I was like, I've always wanted to do this. I feel like this is the similar story. Like, you saw the burlesque movie in high school, and then you're like, oh my God, it'd be so cool to do that. And so that kind of just like re-tapped in. And, I really got to see it live, and I asked the producer, I would love to be part of this. I've never done burlesque, but I'm a dancer and I'm a performer, so I would love to be part of this. Sent my dance videos to her because that's what I had. And then lo and behold, I was in the next show, first time in pasties. Believe it or not, it was a Beyonce song, and because that's my favorite artist, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was performance, but it has such a really cool like history, and it's just so powerful. It's so empowering. It's radical, it's unapologetic, and it's just so open to your style, like your own style, who you are as a human being, and who you are as a performer. Performing arts is that in general, but it's really cool how I found myself through burlesque. And so, as you can imagine, dance has deeply influenced my burlesque. And after that first show, I really worked hard and studied and was inspired by so many talented, burlesque performers like yourself, and
Aw.
just like really studying and being inspired and really respecting the craft of burlesque.
That really resonates with me. I love what you said about, everyone can find their own style and how you, as a trained dancer with the passion for dance, then saw burlesque and it's like this other level was unlocked in your brain where you're like, oh, I want to do that. And I think for our listeners who maybe want to try burlesque and haven't before, what an inspiring story that you saw the show and you're like, and you are a trained dancer, so you, of course, like that's an amazing skill. But still, it takes bravery and courage to be like, I'm gonna go up to this producer and say, I loved it, and shoot your shot, so to say, and it worked out. And speaking about different styles, you mentioned, everyone in art in general, but I do notice, especially in burlesque, can you describe your performance style or stage persona?
So my stage persona, if we were describing like maybe a celebrity or looking at a celebrity for inspiration, definitely Beyonce, um, Donna Summer,
Oh,
Diana Ross, Tina Turner, Josephine Baker, like
yes.
classic. Literally, none of those celebrities I named would have probably existed if Josephine Baker didn't exist. So definitely like the OG. Um, who else? And then like more current pop artists. So like Sabrina Carpenter and what's another one? That's like more recent. Yeah, like Sabrina Carpenter. So very like pop diva, but still like a little old school, cutesy, like tongue in cheek. Katy Perry, like
Ooh.
early, like what is it, 2008, 2009, like Katy Perry. So like very poppy, very like now, like very modern, but still like kind of that old school, old Hollywood, very glamorous, very feminine energy. So those are people that inspire me, performers that inspire me. I always do a little bit of a 5, 6, 7, 8, whether it's more like burlesque. So we're like focusing on like the acting and the reveal. There's still like, okay, this is gonna be the moment where there's a dance break. Quick, or it's like, fully choreographed. So definitely dance heavy burlesque acts. But yeah, that's pretty much my persona.
I can totally see that from the acts that I've seen from you.
Mhm.
And speaking now for your inspiration and process, creating your acts specifically. So we kind of talked about your performance style, but when you're approaching a new act, what do you think about when you're creating it? Is it costume first, music first?
So it varies. Usually it's like music first. So I want to say a little bit more than half of the acts and the dances that I create, I've been listening to the song for a while. And it's just been like naturally embedded in my brain. And maybe I have an intention of choreographing to it, or maybe I like listen to it the first time and I'm like, oh my goodness, this would be like a perfect dance or a burlesque act. So I let the song like marinate and listen to it like a few hundred times before I really start choreographing, or I choreograph in my head all the time on the subway. That's where it all like the little seed happens is on like the subway or during my commute, when I'm just like sitting and listening to music. So it starts with the music, and then I'll get in my apartment and then just start choreographing from there. If I feel like it's needed, I'll take some studio space. If it's a solo, definitely. If it's a group number, obviously, like we'll have a rehearsal and I'll choreograph from there. And so then it grows from there, and really workshopping it in the studio is like so fun, and I just love, especially like with, several bodies. It's great to do those formations and see how it looks on everyone. So that's always something I really loved is teaching dance and rehearsing dance and just seeing how it looks on everyone. And then that's pretty much how it goes. And then costumes are usually like, okay, this is the color of the act. This is the color of it. I usually like based off my costumes off of that.
And we're going to get more into Lyoness because you mentioned choreographing for like a company and the costumes for the company. But first, you're going to be performing at the February 13th, which when this episode airs, it'll be like in a week, Valentine's Day show. So can you give us a little teaser, if you know already, like about your act? Just a little teaser for the audience to want to come see you in the show.
Ooh, a little teaser. So I'm not going to give away too much. It has to do with self love. And basically, I guess the intention of it is walking away from something that's not serving you because you love yourself before anything else. And you choose, because you love yourself, you walk away from whatever is not serving you. So that's the intention and the vibe behind it. So, yeah, a little inspirational.
I love it. It's also a bit inspirational for the new year. Like people for 2025 is upon us, and like that could be a good vibe to set for everyone in the audience.
Yes, exactly. Inspirational, but still very, very sexy.
Oh, yes, always sexy. Yes, yes.
Yes, always.
Now, can you share, getting into the Lyoness, a feline inspired name? I love it. Can you share the inspiration and origin of your dance company, Lyoness NYC?
So technically, it started March 2020. And we had our first show March 1st, 2020. It was like a little, just like burlesque show. Nothing was like, there was no group numbers. It was just like burlesque. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really want to take this up. Like, I really want to, like, hire a bunch of dancers and choreograph and all of that. And I've always wanted to have like a troupe where I choreograph and it's all female, but I didn't really know how I wanted to navigate it. And so it was kind of beautiful that I started burlesque, a year before starting Lyoness. And so I was like, okay, it'll be like a burlesque cabaret dance troupe. So anyway, March 1st, 2020, we had our first like small show, and then I had all these ideas. Of course, the pandemic happened. It sucked,
Mhm.
obviously, but also it gave me time to like really meditate and focus and like, okay, what do I want to do with this? We're not doing shows for a while. So fast forward a year later, we have our first show. It was completely masked. I think it was like 30% of people, like 30% capacity at the venue. And it was a very large venue because, again, a lot of spaces weren't hosting shows unless they were
Mhm.
very large. But I was just like, oh my God, this is something I want to do. Rewind, we actually had virtual auditions for dancers. A few of the dancers I knew previously, but some of the dancers I didn't know, and I just met them virtually. And then we had a couple of virtual rehearsals, and then we had in person at a studio that we booked, and then we had that first show in 2021. And so that's kind of how it started. The name started because my last name is Lyons, and
Nice.
I've always wanted to like really capitalize and brand on that because it's a really cool last name. And I was like, okay, we'll just make it the feminine version. And, it's just, it's beautiful. It, represents female empowerment, feline, strength and all of that. So that's pretty much how I started. Lioness, we're very, it's cabaret. We feature burlesque performers. So we have a few burlesque performers that are in the company that do solo burlesque acts. And then obviously we invite burlesque performers. I know you've performed at one of
Yeah.
my shows before, which was so lovely. And so, yeah, just honoring burlesque. Some of our shows will have burlesque, others will not. And it'll just be, dance. And yeah, that's pretty much us. That's Lioness, and we've been going strong for almost 4 years. Excuse me, 5 years.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. Yeah, so 5 years. So we'll have an anniversary show in March.
Oh, yes, everyone stay tuned for that anniversary show. That's so impressive and really inspiring that you discovered burlesque, your love of dance you had when you moved here. You discovered burlesque and then you wanted to create a troupe. And I have to say, I loved being part of your show and I find it so refreshing because it's very unique. I don't see I mean, I know there are others, but I haven't been to very many cabaret dance shows that also feature burlesque. And you also had a pole artist at the show I was in, and I thought that was so interesting and engaging, and so I just like that variety. So now I saw your show at a different venue in Astoria, but I think you have a new show called Purr and a new venue. So tell us all about your new show.
Yes, I'm so excited. So we launched this show in June of this year, and it's in Brooklyn. It's called Lovejoys, and it's this like really sleek. The colors are like purple and pink, which I love. So that's like total vibe. A very like chic little lounge in Williamsburg, and yeah, fell in love with it. And we do shows every other month. So we had a June show, we did an August show, and a Halloween show. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's a very sultry take on our show. So it's Purr represents like feline, like black cat energy. We still do our group numbers and we still have, our burlesque performers. So it is a burlesque show as well. So we'll have burlesque performers, variety performers that we'll invite to perform. And we absolutely love this space. Lovejoy's has the cutest little cocktails. We have our own signature cocktail called the Lyoness Love Spell, and it's absolutely delicious and like has little sparkles in it and champagne, and it's absolutely delicious. And so yeah, that's Purr.
Oh my gosh, I love that you have a signature cocktail. The whole
Yes.
vibe. I know I meant to go to one of your shows and I missed it, so I want to go to the next one. When is the one? So this will air February 6th. March, would that be the next show that our listeners can go to at Lovejoy's? Should they just stay tuned to your Instagram?
Yes, definitely stay tuned to our Instagram when we announce our next show at Lovejoy's.
And that's
Yes.
at Lyoness_NYC.
Yes, at Lyoness_NYC on Instagram, and then Lyoness NYC if you want to go to our website.
Oh, yes. Okay. So we've heard about Lyoness, your show Purr, and I also want to talk about you touched on, you went to school for fashion. You mentioned how you love to think about the color and how it looks on everyone. So can you talk about your costume creation for your dance company and solo as well? If you want, you have a beautiful costume for your Everybody Loves, is it Diamonds?
Oh,
Or
yes.
yes, yes. So feel free
Yes.
to talk about that in general.
Yeah, I love my girls who sparkle. So we have we have a few outfits, a few group outfits that we all wear. My favorite is our gold. It's a gold two-piece, so it's a really sexy sparkly bra with some metallic sparkly bottoms, and then a skirt, a little French skirt that we like to reveal, and then that's just paired with accessories. So sometimes we'll do black gloves or gold gloves or red gloves. So we'll play with accessories with that, and everything's just so sparkly and bejeweled. So that's like my favorite lioness costume. We wear that one pretty frequently. Oh, and then my second favorite is our black latex. So we usually use this for our Purr show because again, black cat energy. So it's like a latex bodysuit, super high, like thigh, brief moment, and then it's like super sparkly. So we have the AB, like really sparkly iridescent rhinestones covering it. So that's the process, and it's always fun, especially like our last rehearsal before the show. If I have a new costume, we wear for the rehearsal to get like our body's used to it and make sure the fit is all right. And it's just like really exciting to have that costume at rehearsal. Then you get really excited for the show and to wear the new costumes. And then, yeah, just for myself, same. I love to sparkle, so I love like bedazzling everything. You see a lot of pinks and a lot of reds. Those are like kind of my colors. I'm looking to venture out more in the new year. I'm like, let's switch it up. I have a blue outfit that I'm like, I could wear that more. So yeah, again, I see I see colors in songs. So it's like, okay, what color fits this? So yeah, that's pretty much like my creation for my costuming.
And I have to say, at your show, I was so impressed because I was backstage, in the dressing area, and there were like costumes being handed out to your different
Yes.
dancers. And it was so organized. And I was so impressed. And I was like, oh my gosh, she has to like, it's not just like I get stressed enough remembering all my gloves and all my pieces. And I was like, oh gosh, she like has to be organized for everyone. So do you also, you bedazzle all the costumes for the dancers? That's a lot of work.
It is, yeah. It's definitely passion that like drives what I do. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I don't have children, or at least I don't have human children, so it feels like that's like my maternal energy going into like the love of what I do for the dancers, for Lioness. Like Lioness is my baby. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can just see you're radiating joy and happiness. I can tell it's just like what you love. So that totally makes sense. And speaking of your non-human child, now is the part of the show where we're going to learn more about your cat. And I genuinely don't know too much other than some Instagram photos I've seen. So tell me, what's your cat's name and how did they come into your life?
Well, this is my baby girl. She's very shy, so she'll be up here for like 2 seconds
Yeah.
and then go. But her name is Beyonce. She's a little tabby. She'll be 4. Okay. She's like, that's enough of that. She'll be 4 in March. I adopted her literally when she was like 6 months old from ASPCA. Yeah, and we've been inseparable ever since. She's my baby girl.
I
So
love I love that you adopted her from the ASPCA because by day I'm a manager at the ASPCA kitten nursery. So how old do you think she was when you adopted her?
she was 6 months. I think that might have been
She
where I
may
think it was like there.
Yeah, she may have started at the nursery and then they move on to the adoption center on 92nd Street.
Okay,
Uh,
that's where it was then, yeah.
yeah, oh that's
That's funny.
wonderful. So for Galentine's Day, like she's your gal. Like you really do you have a female cat for
Exactly.
Catbaret Galentine's at home watching.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, she's my Galentine. She's been my Galentine for the past 3, 4 years, so
Now, can you share a little bit about her? So we know she's a little shy, and please know my cats have not made an appearance of me holding them here because one is also very shy and one is a big orange tabby that would be like, get me out of here. So it's amazing your cat made an appearance. Can you
yeah.
share a little bit more about her like quirks and personality?
So yeah, she's a little shy, like camera shy. Like if I, FaceTiming and put her up, she's like, I don't. Cameras away. Despite her name, even though her name's Beyonce, she does not like the limelight. But she is like in person. She's like cuddly. She'll walk up to you and like rub her, head to your legs. Like she's very friendly, even though she's a little bit shy. One of her quirks is she loves cords, and it is so annoying. And they actually warned me at ASPCA, like when I adopted her, they were like, "Be careful. She likes like cords and strings and things like that. So like watch your phone cords." I adopted her. My cords were broken. Like literally when I brought her home, I think a few days later, my cords were broken. Yeah. So she loves cords. She's kind of grown out of it, but like every now and then, usually if she's mad at me, like if I've taken a long trip and she's been with the cat sitter, she'll like get her revenge by chewing on a cord. But for the most part, she's grown out of it pretty well. But yeah, that's like one of her little annoying things that she does. But yeah, she's overall she's super loving and yeah, she's great.
Love a love bug cat. She looks like a nice, cuddly, for our listeners, she looked like she was a gray and white tabby and kind of like a nice, big, cuddly cat.
Yeah, she's definitely a big cuddly cat. She's yeah, super cozy. She like lays every night next to me like on my pillow. So,
Oh, I love that. And
yes.
speaking of the cords, it's such kitten behavior too. Like she's probably
Yeah.
growing out of it. My cat Liono, he wants to eat plastic bags. It's so annoying. So like we can't ever have plastic bags out and if a guest comes over, they don't know and we're very hyper vigilant like please put your plastic bag away. So I
Right.
totally commiserate. It's hard. How can you got to charge your phones, you got,
Exactly. Yeah. No, those are necessities. So, but yeah, she eventually grew out of it. So I guess yeah, like you said, kitten behavior.
And I love that she lays on your pillow with you at night. That's so sweet. Do you have any other like daily routines or special rituals with her that come to mind?
I think like as a performer, some nights I come home like very late. Like last night I came home at like 2:30. So if I'm working my regular job, I'll come home at like 7:30 p.m. whatever. But yeah, if I work a late show, usually I give her it's just like habitual at this point. I felt bad like as a kitten. I'm like she doesn't understand. She needs all the love, but I'll like cuddle and give her like extra treats if I come home super late, and it's just become habitual. So I think her biological clock if she knows like anytime after 11 p.m. I'm not home, she's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm getting extra treats." So, yeah, that's my little, like I guess that's my little ritual.
That's a great one because like when you come home from a show, you're decompressing, you're like relaxing, and that sounds like the perfect time to spend some time with Beyonce.
Exactly, yes, yeah, lots of, like, extra little she likes the what is it, Temptation, so I give her, like, little extras.
Oh,
So
yes. She deserves it.
she does, exactly.
And you know what? I think we kind of talked about this earlier, but you may have more to add. Speaking about how, like, your cat, whether Beyonce and your specific Beyonce inspires you, or just cats in general inspire your art and performances. You touched on it a little bit with like feline feminine energy with Lyoness and Purr, but curious if there is anything else or anything like specific cat themed acts you want to talk about.
Yes, so I do have an act, it's called Kitty Cat,
Oh,
and
yes.
it's by Beyoncé, so
Mhm.
it's very fitting, and I just realized this. Okay, I choreographed that number a year before adopting Beyoncé.
You manifested it.
I did. I just realized that. Like, actually, okay, yeah, that's so wild. So after, yeah, adopted her after the fact. That's so funny.
I love that you discovered that during this podcast because someone else also had a revelation about their cats during our podcast. So that makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's so funny. But anyway, yeah, kitty cat, and it's just very like unapologetic, like, feline black cat energy. The song is fun. I feel like it's a very underrated Beyonce song. It's not her most popular song. But yeah, when I heard it, again, like it came out like in 2007, so it's like an older song, and then I heard it for the first time in a very long time, like in 2020, and I was like, "Oh, this would be fun choreography." And so I choreographed it, taught it in a virtual dance class, and then
Oh,
and now it's also a choreography for my dancers for Lioness. So we do have a group number. It's probably like our one of our first numbers. Choreographed that as a group number. Had a burlesque act, and then a few months later, I adopted my cat Beyonce. That is so funny how that happened. But yeah, that inspired me, and it's just giving like dark, cat energy. That's how cats have inspired that act.
I want to say I love that song, Kitty Cat. I actually didn't
Yes.
know it back in 2007 either, but when I make my like playlist for Catbaret, I'm always looking at songs about cats. And of course, like Kitty Cat, that's come up, that's been on my playlist. It's a great
Yes.
song, and I like that it's not like her most well-known song because then every sometimes it's good to have acts to introduce people to good music that's not overdone. So I think that's really
Exactly.
perfect.
That's very true. Yeah, it hasn't like been too overplayed. It's yeah. Yeah, because I've had people like I've performed it and people have come up to me. They're like, I've never heard that song, like that Beyonce song. So, yeah, it's nice to introduce new art and new music. Or
Yeah,
new for people, new for some people.
and I'm so glad you also mentioned about your dance classes. I have to work Sundays, so I never
Yeah.
can make it. But
Oh,
can you share more about your dance classes? And like, let's promote that here because I bet a lot of folks listening would love to do a group dance to Kitty Cat or
yes.
your other themes.
Yes, so we do have classes. They're usually like pop-up classes, so they're not like usually a specific schedule. So they, vary. They can be usually they're on Sundays, but sometimes we'll have them on Monday or Tuesday earlier in the week. And we don't have the schedule out now, but there are going to be several classes in the new year in 2025. So look out for that. Again, we post all of this on our Instagram and our website. So Lyoness underscore NYC, the Instagram, or Lyoness NYC, the website. And so you can look out for that. The classes are open level. We start out with a warm up and then we learn some choreography. We'll learn some techniques. So like walking or arm movements, or sometimes we'll bring in props. A lot of the times we'll do glove reveal, a glove peel, so playing with props and you know certain methods of removing a glove or like a top piece like a shirt or a dress. So we go into dance, but also we throw in some burlesque elements as well. Again, it's open level, so if you've never danced before in your life, or if you're just getting back into dance, or if professional dancer, it's open for everyone, and we give different adjustments. And like if you want to do a more advanced version or a beginner version, we still keep that in that class. So you have different options.
Oh, that's so inclusive. That sounds like my jam. I have a goal to take dance classes every year.
Yeah.
Last year, I grew up tap dancing. I was like, I'm going to take a
Oh,
tap class in 2024. I did not. So I do. I'm going to do more in 2025. That sounds
yes.
so fun, and fun for people who are like dancers or not dancers, or curious about burlesque in a way that's like a safe environment. You're not taking all your clothes off. You're dipping your toes into it and just trying it out for fun too.
Exactly, yeah. So it's very open. Also, I love tap dance. My dance studio
Oh.
was big. My dance studio growing up was so big into tap. So yes, let's take a tap class together in the new
I
year.
I would love that. Okay, now back to your cats. I have one more question for you. How
Mhm.
do you ever incorporate your own cat like into your creative work, or is she just there when you're working on all of your costumes? Like, yeah, how does she kind of fit into your world?
She's always there when I'm working on costumes. She's pulling on string. She's there. She wants to be part of it. Speaking of which, she's creeping up. As far as like performances, I've had her in one. Believe it or not, Kitty Cat. It was a virtual
Wow.
show, but it was like far after the pandemic. Like it was interesting. So somebody was hosting a virtual show, a performer that was also featured in our show before, a burlesque performer in LA. So she was based in LA, but she did a virtual show. Um, and the virtual show was last year, so it's very interesting, but got a lot of people, and it was great. So I was a little bit like, nervous because I'm like, I did a Zoom show back during the pandemic, so we'll see how it goes. But it went really well, a good turnout, and um, I featured her in the very beginning. So it was her little burlesque debut. I just kind of brought her out, kind of like how I did here, like super simple. Brought her out. I had my like glove and like my costume, my gown, coming out with the cat and like play with her for the first verse. And eventually she was like, doing the thing. And I'm like, okay, that's it. And everyone loved it. We split our tips. It was great.
She got her temptations. You gave her like her tips and temptations.
Exactly. Yes. So it was really cute. It was fun to have her like, showed um, get that little burlesque experience. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's probably where it's gonna go. Again, despite her name, she does not love the spotlights.
Yeah, I understand. That sounds like a great way to incorporate her.
Yes.
Now we're to the part of the podcast where you share a piece of advice for fellow performers and a piece of advice for cat parents.
Okay, so my piece of advice for performers is just like keep honing your craft. There's never a time where you can't keep growing. Like, so, take advantage of dance classes. So that could be a burlesque class, or that could be a tap class, or ballet, or ballroom, or like a style that you've never tried before, or that you used to, do dance classes, acting classes, improv classes, which are like so amazing for burlesque. Improv, any like, certain techniques, miser, method acting, whatever. We just have so much in New York. So
Yeah.
it's like we're so blessed. So there's so much training out there that's, accessible to us. Pole classes, obviously, Lyra, all those acro classes that I definitely want to be better about going to in the new year. So, there's just so much opportunity. We're surrounded by museums. So there's art there where literally you can get inspired. Shows, going to concerts. I went to obviously like Beyonce's concert. I don't have her budget, but there's like so much inspiration there. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I imagine, fireworks coming out and we're on a harness. And so like literally scaling that down to a cabaret scene. It's always so fun. So you are literally so inspired every day, even if you're not in New York. Obviously, you can go to like concerts and watch YouTube videos and go to other, local shows and see local art. Um, Literally in Midtown. I like see like, at 5 p.m. when it's like rush hour, people rushing and just like the movement and the energy and the focus. It's like you are literally inspired. Like that can be art. Like that can inspire your art. Just like business people who maybe aren't not performers. They can still inspire you. So yeah, just take advantage of like the opportunities and the inspirations that we have here. And then as far as a cat parent, I'm a very new cat parent. I forgot to mention I adopted Beyonce, literally my first real pet, because my dad's allergic to everything, so I never had any cat or animal growing up. And even before I got my first apartment, I was like, okay, I want to get a pet when I get my first place. And, a few months in, I adopted Beyonce, so it was great. You can learn a lot from your pets, and it's just like maintaining boundaries with your cat, obviously, but then like also yourself, like in life. Like you can literally learn so much from animals. It's insane. Cats literally don't care what you think. Like, so why should you? Like they're there. They know you're gonna love them either way. So it's just, you can set boundaries for yourself in life, as well. Like your cats literally inspire you. And then also like their feeding schedule, like you don't have to like as soon as they wake you up, you don't have to feed them then and there. If it's their time to eat at 10 a.m., you feed them at 10 a.m. because you're the parent. So yeah, I
You're
think
better
like
than I am.
really.
I'm like the servant.
No, this took me a while to learn, and then somebody told me they're like, "Nope, you're the parent at the end of the day." So I'm like, "Oh, okay."
No, that's so true. You're being a good parent, making sure they're eating the right amount at the right time. I love it.
Yes, trying to. But yeah, I think that's like the most advice I could get as almost 4-year cat parent for the first time. So
You gave such good advice and inspiration for me. I'm coming on living in New York City 13 years, and some days I'm going to my day job and I'm forgetting to look around at the inspiration. There are some times when I'm more motivated and going to shows or going to a class, and it's just a good reminder as we're early into 2025 and wanting to remind ourselves of all the beautiful things around us and to keep going. So I think this is great inspiration, as you said, for anyone listening in any city. There's museums, there's classes, there's virtual classes, there's all sorts of things that you can get inspiration from in your daily life. So I really love that nugget of advice.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. It's my passion to produce this podcast because I get to interview talented and skilled and inspired performers like you and learn all about your journey. And so I'm excited for our listeners to follow you on Instagram. I'll link your everything in the show notes so they can follow and keep abreast on what you're doing. And I plan on coming to Purr in 2025 as well.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you as a performer, as a human. And yeah, I look forward to to listening to the podcast and everything. This is so much fun.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Tails and Tassels. So if you have any questions, comments, or just want to say meow, feel free to send us an email at tailsandtasselspod@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Also, join our community on Instagram at Tails and Tassels Pod for more updates and behind-the-scenes fun. See you next time, kitty cats.